So we'd done it, our first production with Oasis Youth Theatre, and we were through to the British finals, representing England in Scotland. Charlie, what do you?
Yeah, we got through to the final of the English one,
Yeah,
didn't we,
with Graham,
and then we got to the same point, and we thought, oh my gosh, we did it! We got through to Scotland. That was so exciting to go up and represent England.
Yeah, and against adult companies, that was the other thing.
Yeah, it wasn't you get through on the youth award. It was fully this is the play that should go through. So that was so exciting. And what was lovely about that is there was no next kind of level after the Scottish final. So it was all just a celebration for us. Instead of let's go to the English final and maybe we can win, so then we could go to the next one. We kind of reached the final level, so that was such a lovely, and it was the last time that we were kind of working together. Was it my last show with?
Yeah, you were.
So
off.
a lot of people were leaving as well because of the age group, and so it was a real just big celebration together. We met all the other companies, and in this one it was much more of a meeting the other companies rather than in the English theatre festivals. It's a bit more separate, I guess.
And we'd also got used to staying together in these hotels.
Yeah.
And we were staying in lovely little hotels that were kind of we were paid for to go, I think, and going out and playing football. I remember the game of football on the grass outside in Scotland, and just being together and just loving each other's company. I mean, it genuinely was a real love fest, and we performed as best we could. We had real problems getting some of the cast to the performances I mentioned before. We had someone who had an exam, someone who had
Joey had an exam.
Yeah, and Kim and Gemma. Lots of them were in year 11. It was on the day after the GCSEs. We managed to get them flights paid for by Kate managing to get us funding. And every problem was solved and just made easy for us to do our job. And I can remember our rehearsal on that day was without Kate and Gemma, who were sitting at GCSE during the day. So we did have to rehearse without them. And we performed in the evening. There must have been a review. We felt we'd done as best we could. It transpired that we didn't win the whole thing. And a very funny little story that one of the guys who was something to do with the drama festivals, as we were leaving, he drove past and then stopped, wound down his window, and he said, "Mark, that," referring to the group who had won, "that was what I'd call good drama." And it just shows the attitude of some of the older folk at the festivals. They just never got what we did at festivals, and that's what we were up against in the early days. And now that generation were dying out. But we weren't disappointed. We felt we'd done our very best, and we'd had a great time. And the team who won were great, and that was fine. And I can remember us standing up and people being very impressed that we gave them a standing ovation and were very generous when they'd won. And my top memory of the whole festival is you teaching the Scottish Highland dancers to break dance, and them teaching you, at the Cayley, and them teaching you to do the Highland dancing. And above any of the theatre performances, that for me is what represented the camaraderie at the English final, at the British final. It was wonderful, and there we are again. Is there anything else you want to say about that or not?
Just that whole experience for me growing up was such a wonderful avenue, the Amateur Dramatic Festival world, and from seeing you go and struggle, and then I kind of got involved and we did it together, and then finally our last show we get to the final, and it was just perfect. This is perfect, and that feeling of camaraderie and meeting groups from different parts of the country is now one thing I do love about my job now, going to circus festivals, and there is no competition, and it feels like such a everyone just sharing what they do individually together and celebrating the differences, and that's really great. So,
and people are a bit sniffy about some of the drama festivals, but we weren't. Even when we weren't appreciated as we thought we should be, we always felt We're here to contribute what we're contributing, and we'll carry on doing that. We certainly didn't change, and a normal fare would be Acheborn type plays, which I think are fine. I've done them myself, but it wasn't what we wanted to do as our original from the heart things. And we continued to do that, and eventually people kind of came around and caught up with us, I guess. And I can remember at the very end you were saying about that you didn't go onto a world thing, and someone saying to me, it's too verbose too verbose, too many words to go to a world thing. And Matt Savage was standing next to me, and I said to him, right, what we need to do next is a play with no words. And that's exactly what we did, and I'll talk about Jack in the next, I don't know whether it's the next, but our next episode. And that's how Jack came about, but more of that later. Just a little quick, again, the wonderful things from Oasis, the little broadcasts that they did, the little pamphlets, and again, we were celebrated by Oasis, and I think the whole youth theatre got an award. Inspirational creative director in recognition of the creation and success of 1 Million to Stop the Traffic. It was really nice. I put it against, no, you can't see it even against the shirt. It was really nice to be recognised in that formal way in our youth theatre, to be recognised for that. So, and that's something that stays up on my my windowsill.
And they spelled my name right.
And they certainly did spell my name right. But that kind of recognition was one of the joys of the Academy thing. We were celebrated, and it was lovely. One of my old students, Ryan Gilby, at the time did a little article, quite a funny article, about his relationship with me when we were at school. He was the one who did the design for Wacky Soap, and he was in King of Elfland. School plays are often considered less than legitimate theatre, but for me they were a revelation, and having an inspirational drama teacher helped. Lovely Ryan. Who says, and Mark was as likely to rhapsodise about Bowie as Brecht. Ryan wrote this in The Guardian, so that was really nice to get Guardian coverage just as we go, as the English champions, to perform at the Oasis, was it the Oasis Church in Waterloo?
Yeah.
And some very spectacular people were in the audience.
There was some UN people, right?
Yeah, I think so. It was kind of very weird being this celebrated group going and performing to Stop the Traffic people. There we are, all jumping up and down with our awards. We had loads of awards, and we're the best in the land. It was just such a great thing to be celebrated as this theatre group who had done something really good, and culminating in the performance at Oasis, and they wanted us to go and perform. Anything else you want to say, or I'll finish with this. It's a lovely letter, and it shows you the kind of the way in which OYT was considered, particularly when I'd been worried that OYT might be disappearing. So this is from Ian to me, which I would have read, I'm sure, to the youth theatre. I know you fretted terribly before we opened, wondering what might become of OYT. In my earliest contact with the group, it became apparent to me that something very special was living right in the heart of this community. The past 2 years have done nothing but secure my view that OYT is a very special jewel, clear, bright and beautiful. I always knew that Stop the Traffic story would provide a compelling and rich source of material for your creative energies. I could not have imagined the way in which you have all brought these harrowing stories out into the light. I have been profoundly moved by your work, finding myself more protective of my own daughters, deeply challenged to make more of a difference in my own life. Have I enjoyed it? No. Has it changed me? Yes. I have been stunned by your level of care for each other, by your mutual respect, your compassion, and your determination to always give of your best. All this has been done with wide smiles and intoxicating laughter. And I couldn't put better into words that feeling of that's what OYT was for us. All the product aside, that. Yeah?
Yeah.
A good place to finish.